Hello and welcome to another daily anti-fascist video of Inspired Defiance. Today I'm inspired by JD Vance going to Indiana to drum up support for redistricting in a state that is already incredibly gerrymandered. And just like they have done in many other states thus far, most specifically Texas, the Republican Party is very interested in making it as difficult as possible for the Democrats to gain any seats within the House of Representatives. And to me, it's not really about remapping a state. It's really about deciding which voices count, which voices matter, and which votes should matter. Redistricting is never neutral. But when it is done by nonpartisan actors, when it is done by commissions that both sides or many sides agree to, then it becomes something that is more about representation. It's more about trying to make sure that all of the people, all of the voters, are represented by those in power. And this effort, which is being undertaken by JD Vance right now, is more about narrative control. It's like editing the story of our elections to only include a few characters. And it erodes the trust in our elections because those characters do not represent all of us. One thing that I know as a father is that my kids believe deeply in fairness. They are not alone in this. In America, we have a deep-seated value in fairness. We believe that everyone should get a fair shake. And to put your thumb on the scale of our elections, to try and redistrict so that only one party can be in control, that becomes a totalitarian gambit. I'm also inspired today by the fact that there was a special election over 2 weeks ago, and the representative that was elected has still not been seated in the House of Representatives. Even though the government is shut down right now, the Congress is in pro forma session, and other representatives have been sworn in during those types of sessions. It just so happens that those were Republicans. There are lots of reasons why Speaker Johnson might not want to swear in this particular Democratic representative. The one that seems to resonate most deeply is that she would represent the 218th vote to release the Epstein files. While I don't think that's the only reason why it's happening, it is certainly among them. And it really begs the question as to what it means to be an elected official. Does it mean that you actually get to do the work that you have been elected to do? Or does it mean that it's just a theoretical promise of becoming that official whenever the party that's in power says that it's okay? And finally, I'm inspired today by the fact that the Texas National Guard has been federalized and transported to the city of Chicago. I don't know that I ever thought we would be to the point where military movements or troop movements were a talking point of how we deal with dissent inside of our own country. The 200 National Guard members that have been transported from Texas to Illinois show just how much the fabric, the foundation of our nation is dependent upon the whims of one man. And while I find this particular troop movement or the deploying of National Guard troops in general to American cities completely repugnant, I actually think that it's a bigger deal about the way in which we see these cities, the way in which we are seeing one another. I have found that in making these videos over the last 2 weeks, there is a good number of folks who disagree with me. And yet, it isn't the disagreement that I care so much about, because I think disagreement is probably pretty good for us. I think the ability to bounce ideas off of one another is important and valuable. And yet it is a struggle for me to understand looking at a video of a pastor being shot in the face with a rubber bullet and seeing that as anything other than a negative experience for all of us. If we can't look at what is actually happening, where dozens of people are gathered and that's supposed to be a mob, then it's really a struggle to be able to say that we are living in the same world, that we are living with the same truths. And so these troop movements are representative not of something that is happening and is very real in these cities, but they are representations of a worldview, of an ideology that pits Americans against one another, that makes the military required for quelling dozens of protesters in a city. And when a huge number of people show up, like they did last night in Chicago, these military personnel are nowhere to be found. So it has become about establishing a narrative that there are evil people in these places, that Antifa, an organization that does not exist, is the enemy, worse than Hamas, worse than MS-13. They are stating that anyone who disagrees is the enemy of the state, is the enemy of the people, and there are a good number of folks who are believing them. And I think the only hope that I have is that through discourse and dialogue and looking at the exact same videos or the exact same news reports and coming together on what it means when military personnel directly antagonize the citizens of a nation, we have to be able to come together and establish that truth, that baseline truth of what is actually happening in these cities. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to have to be individual citizens recording things, sharing them, and trying to come together in dialogue. That's what I'm trying to do here. And my hope is that at some point you might join me.